स्थापितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी पक्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी.
Yeah, as we have discussed, basically this 29 and 30 verse basically is an introduction for the next chapter. Even though Bhagavan has concluded saying that Jnanitu Atmaiva Me Matam, once a person understands me, I am myself and Vishwa are one and the same. So Jnanitu Atmaiva Me Matam, Bhagavan himself has declared. Now, as a prelude to the 8th chapter is important because it gives a world view of Mukti in terms of various factors that are involved. Adhyatma, Adi Bodhika, Adi Devika. We do that Shanti, 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 three Shantis and all that. So all Vyavahara related Jagat, in that also, how to see the Ishwaratvam. That in elaborate manner he is going to explain the first 10 verses of 8th chapter. And then we will go again, come back to the Brahma Vidya, so that we understand that what is this Brahma Vidya, in what way it is unique in terms of instead of going around the world looking for too many things like Adi Bodhikam, Adi Devikam, so many upasanas, karma and all that, compared to that in terms of understanding Ishwaratvam as your reality, how far it is blessing. So we will contrast it. Bhagavan himself contrasts it. That is why now he has just introduced what is karma and what is Adibhutam, Adidevam and Adhyatmikam in these 2 verses, 29 and 30, and then goes into the 8th chapter. The part of it I have sent a message also. Now let us get into the 30th verse. We have to read the 30th verse, I think, right? Hello?
Sadi Budati Daivam Mam Sadi Yajnam Cha E Viduhu Prayana Kale Vitam Chamam Te Vidur Yukta Chetasaha.
Vidyuhu Yukta Chetasaha. That is how you have to read that. Vidyuhu Yukta Chetasaha.
Yukta Chetasaha. Yecha and those Mam Me Sadibhuta Adidaivam as centered on the physical world and as centered on the Devata. Sadi Yajnam Cha and as centered on the rituals. Viduhu no, they Yukta Chetasa Saha whose minds are absorbed in me. Prayana Kale P. Even at the end of their life, Mam Viduhu, know me.
Prayana Kale Pi meaning Prayana Kale Api. Api means even at the end of their life, they know me. That is how it is, yeah.
Know me as centered on the physical world, the Devatas and the rituals, whose minds are absorbed in me, even at the end of their life, they know me. The Lord says, those who know me in this form, they alone gain me. Here, moksha is the phala, result meaning, the purushartha is moksha. It was said previously in verse 28 that these people are Drida Vritas.
Drida Vritas, firm conviction, yeah.
And Shankara had pointed out that these people are Sunishchita Vijnana.
Vijnanaha, yeah. People who know for clear, Nishchitam meaning very clearly they knew, yeah.
These are people who have ascertained the Purushartha before they commit themselves to the pursuit of the knowledge of Parameshwara. So it was said in verse 29 that having taken refuge in me, those who make effort for freedom from old age and death They know that Brahman wholly as themselves, Jara, Marana, Mokshaya,
Yeah. Jara Marana Mokshaya.
Asritya, Ye Yatanti, Te Tad Brahma Viduhu. Up to verse 28, Bhagavan was talking the first person. Now suddenly in verse 29, he put it in the third person and said, Te Adhyatmam Brahma Viduhu. They understand the Pratyagatma as Param Brahma and also understand all that is connected to Pratyagatma. They understand that the Karta, Karma, Karmaphala, etc. are Vidya. Now in these words, Krishna reverts back to the first person again and continues. He says that previously what was said as Brahman is myself. He says those who know me as Sadibhuta, Sadi Daiva and Sadi Yajna.
Yeah, basically what it means is Sa means that he, that is either male or female. Sa. Adhibhuta means Adhibhuta Adhikritya. Adhikritya meaning based on the elements, elemental world, based on the Adhyatma means Deha, individual, and Deva, the third factor. So all the three are explained. Adhibhuta, Adhideva and Adhyatma. And Yajna is, Bhagavan himself has told that I am the Yajna in and through all of them. Like we have said, Brahmarpanam, Brahma Vihi, Brahma, all are Yajna elements. Everything is Brahman only. That also we have seen in the 4th chapter itself. So that is what is called Sa Adi Yajna. Know me as themselves. Yeah.
This Brahman they know as themselves. It is a particular style of talking which is called Rasikritya Katanam. A collective mention, putting everything together and saying, all this is myself. Otherwise it will be an endless process of saying, I am this, I am that, etc. By saying I am the one who obtains in the form of the Devas, the form of factors related to Yajna or Yajna Purusha, in the form of the Bhutas, the 5 elements, or the Karya Karana Sangata.
Karya Karana Sangata, body, mind, sense complex, yeah.
The body, mind, sense complex. It means Sarvam Brahma, all this is. All this. This is a way of saying that everything is Brahma. One often finds this particular expression in the Shastra, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyajna. It is very important to know what these words mean. Bhagavan will also talk about it in the next chapter because Arjuna is going to ask a question about these words. The Lord says, Sadibhuta Adhidaivam Mam Sadi Yajnam Cha Ye Viduhu. They know me, Ishvara, who is Sadibhuta, Sadidaiva and Sadi Yajna. The word Sa, that is compounded to the words Adhibhuta, etc., is Saha, which means along with. In these expressions, what is indicated is Ishvara, the one who exists in the form of the sun, moon, stars, etc., and all the devatas thereof. Adhibhuta is what is centered on the bhutas. Bhutani adhikritya bhavati iti adhibhuta. The bhutas can be taken as the Karya Karana Sangatas. Therefore, Bhagavan says, what obtains in all the Karya Karana Sangatas is myself alone as Pratyagatma. The bhutas can also be taken to mean the 5 elements. Similarly, Adhidaiva is what is centered on the devatas. Devan Adhikritya Vartate iti Adhidaiva.
So basically here he has not mentioned. See this. Generally the Adhibhuta is differentiated from Adhyatma. Adhyatma means individual. Adhibhuta means actually it's supposed to include the individual also because the same 5 bhutas are inside, the same are outside also. But just to differentiate the individual and the Jagat, Adhyatma is individual, Adibhuta is the five elements and elementals that are outside. And Adideva is the Devata for each of those elements. Because Agni is an element and it has got a Devata. Sun is an element, but it has got a Devata, Aditya Devata, like that. So Devata is the Adideva, which is again differentiated from Adibhuta. But all are basically one only, in the sense, just to differentiate that how we look at it, how we as people, how we look at the whole thing. We look at it as Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara all the time. Myself, the world, then Devam. So the same language Bhagavan also is talking, so that we get to understand whatever you are thinking currently where you are in life, how you look at life. He is giving an expression and then integrating the knowledge with that. What you are thinking is Adibhuta, Adideva and Adhyatma, all are me only. Me means again, whatever you have seen, Mataha, Neha, Na, Atma Swarupam only. The Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinna Atma alone is the whole thing. But depending on the perception and conception and depending on the understanding, people look at it differently. He mentions all of them and then integrates our knowledge so that we get to know all this is nothing but the being, the Pratyagatma. Or Brahma Atma. That is why everywhere they keep on adding Atma. Brahman, Brahma Atma. Pratyek Atma. Why? Because the Atma Swarupam alone we can know. Here and right now, sitting here, we can know Atma Swarupam as the being, which I am seeing by own body, mind and sense complex. I am seeing. Lot of things are happening there inside. Vessels are, blood vessels are there. Heart is there. So many things are coordinated. Everything is run like a beautiful machine. And you don't have to go elsewhere. You can just see in your own body the whole thing functioning in a clockwork, beautiful manner. There should be a Niyanta. There should be a knowledgeable person running this. Definitely you and I are not running it, but it is running on its own. Automatically 24 hours, 365 days we are able to breathe without even sleeping. So that means there is something which is going on. Yajna is going on inside. That also is the Atma only, the Chaitanya. Chit Swarupam, the knowledge, all knowledgeable, Sarvajna, and all he has already told. And now he is extrapolating it to Adibhuta and Daivam. For each of those elements, there is a deity. Everything there is a deity. The whole thing together is called a Prapancham. And all that is now explaining in a larger scale for our vision and for people who are not fully understood the Adhyatma and there is nothing but Pratyagatma, Atma Swarupam. For that, he is bringing in all those elements, then he will come back again to make it easy for our understanding. After 10-15 slokas, in the 8th chapter, he will explain the whole thing and then come back again. That is how it is. Yeah.
Swamiji, here this Bhagavan says, what obtains in all the Karyakarana Sangatas is myself alone as Pratyagatma. Can you explain that the Atma-iness?
Yeah, where is it?
The 4 lines earlier. 4 or 5 lines earlier.
This paragraph I was reading, same paragraph. Third.
What obtains in all the Karya Karana Sangatas is myself alone as Pratyagatma. That is what it is. Basically, that's what I am trying to tell. Pratyak means Pratyekam. We all know Pratyekama individual. Pratyak means individual. The Atma that is obtaining in you is the same thing that obtains in Karya Karana Sangata is body, mind, sense complex. That is the exact equivalent translation. Body, mind, sense complex is all the individuals. Every individual is nothing but a complex of body, mind and senses. And what is obtaining in all what is running this all the Karya Karana Sangata is nothing but the Atma Chaitanyam, which is the reality, which is Atma. In the sense, the very fact when he says Atma is running or is what is present, that means it is not Karya Karana or Sangata. Even though what we know as individual is only Karya Karana Sangata, body, mind, sense complex is me. That is our normal understanding. He says, Pratyagatma alone is obtaining in all the Karya Karana Sangata. Meaning what? Pratyagatma is other than, in the sense, you cannot take that only Karya Karana Sangata is Pratyagatma. No, it is not the individual. The individual Swarupa is Atma. The individual is only body, mind and sense complex, which is again part of the Samashti, body, mind and sense complex. All bhutas, the Panchabhutas that are there outside and the Panchabhutas that are there inside are all one together, one set. Actually, like in mathematics, what they call one set. It is the whole thing is Karya Karana Sangatas only. Because Swamiji earlier also used to say that because there is a sense of touch running along the skin, we think that we are separated from the others. There is space inside, there is space outside, but because of the skin and the sense of touch pervading the skin, we think that we are an individual. Actually, there is no individuality, it is a mithya. But for Vyavahara purpose, for transaction purpose, this unit functions like even in a computer program, one particular object functions separately as if it is it's a software. In this particular software, the heart, mind and everything functions for this particular, it controls the nerves, sense organs and all that, makes action possible within this periphery of this setup called the body. So because of that, we think that we are an individual. And some others are all other individuals. Individual. We have perception, we have the differentiation, the bifurcation and fragmentation. We want to be better than the other, etc., etc. The whole thing comes. Basically, what they are saying is, what the reality is, the whole thing is one unified existence. In all the Panchabhutas, all the elements, elementals, all the devatas are all together as one Satyam. And the Chit Swarupam, the Atma, is running the whole thing, whole show. That is what he says, Pratyagatma. What obtains in all the Karya Sankarana Sangrata is myself alone as Pratyagatma, which he knows. Bhagavan says, I know, you don't know. You just have to know. That's all. You don't have to do anything. You just have to know the same Atma. You and I are one of the, there is only one Atma. Now I say myself alone, Bhagavan says, but you can also say the same thing. Myself alone. Or you can say, there is no myself other than Ishvara. If you want to be very modest, you can say that. There is no myself other than the Ishvara. So, Ishvaroham. So, that is what he says. That is the essence of the whole teaching. But, since in Vyavahara, we see all these things differently, he is putting it across in our language. And say, Adibhuta, Adideva, Adi Adhyatma, Adi Yajna, everything he says. And says, this is how it is presented, and he explains how is it. Finally, he will come back to saying that all are nothing but Pratyagatma only. That's what he is trying to say. Yeah. Yeah, read further. The bhutas can also be taken to mean the 5 elements. Hello?
You are on mute, Pa. You are on mute.
Can also be taken to mean.
Okay.
The bhutas.
The bhutas can also be taken to mean the 5 elements. Similarly, Adideva is what is centered on the Devatas. Devan Adikritya Vartate iti Adideva. Adi Yajna is what is centered on the Yajnas, the rituals, etc. It means that Bhagavan is the one who is the form of the very ritual. Yajna by Vishnu. Yajnadipati, because he is the real receiver of the offerings in the Yajna. And he is the one who is in the form of Karmadhyaksha and Karmaphala Data.
Karmadhyaksha, one who presides over the karmas, and Karmaphala Data, one who gives the results of the karma. Everything is he only anyway. Yeah.
So Bhagavan says, these people recognize me as the one who is in the form of this world, as Adibhuta, from whom nothing is separate, and also as the Devatas, as Adideva, the one from whom no Devata is separate. Further he says, they also recognize me as Adi Yajna. Yajna means a ritual. Thus he says, these people see that the karma, the result of karma, and the Devata invoked are me. They recognize me as the truth of karma. Adhyatma is what is centered on the individual. In the previous verse, Bhagavan talked only about Adhyatma. He had said that they know Brahman as Adhyatma, Pratyagatma. Now he converts the whole thing into Ishvara again. That is, he says Ishvara is Brahman. This is how non-difference between Ishvara and the Jiva is established.
Knowledge of Ishvara is both efficient and material cause. When a given phenomenon like the sun is looked upon as Ishvara, Ishvara is considered the Upadana Karana, material cause. This is the Adibhuta vision of Ishvara. When Ishvara is considered as the Nimitta Karana, efficient cause of the sun, etc., it is the Adidaiva vision. These are the two levels. Ishvara as Nimitta Karana is Adidaiva and as Upadana Karana is Adibhuta. These people also know Ishvara as Adhyatma, which was pointed out in the previous verse. Adhyatma is also Brahman. That is, they see themselves as Brahman. Then what is left out? Nothing. Everything is Bhagavan. The world is Bhagavan, the Devatas are Bhagavan, your physical body, mind and senses together called Adhyatma and Pratyagatma are all Bhagavan. This is one way of saying everything is Bhagavan. Nothing else is there here in this universe other than Bhagavan. Therefore the Lord says, those who know me in this form are non-separate from myself. First you recognize Ishvara as Paroksha, that is, you understand that this entire Jagat is Ishvara. Then you internalize the whole thing and understand my own body, mind, senses are Bhagavan. The Pratyagatma consciousness behind this body, mind, sense complex is the truth of Bhagavan. Those who are Yukta Chetasa, Yuktam Chete Esham Te, Yuktam Chetaha Esham Te, meaning those whose minds do not have any inhibiting factors, know me like this, even at the time of travel, death. There is a belief which cannot be supported with any great logic, but what kind of course the departing soul takes depends on what the final thought of the person was when he or she was dying. That is why in India there is a custom of naming people with the names of the Lord. A person dying is likely to call out his son by name, and if that is the name of the Lord, he will be reminded of Bhagavan and it would give him a good gati. However, it is not easy to remember the Lord at the time of death. Unless all one's lifetime one has lived a life keeping the Lord in mind, it is not possible. The thought of Narayana will not come even if one has named his son as Narayana. He will tend to use some diminutive of the name and never remember Bhagavan. Even a great Upasaka is not going to remember his Upasya at the time of death because his attachment to his own children and so on is so much that he will remember only those things. Or he will think of his omissions and commissions and will be riddled with guilt and hurt. Unless a person is very mature, it is not easy to have the thought of the Lord at the time of death. While this is so, the Lord says, if you know me, there is no such problem. Whether it is at the time of death or not, there is no question of your losing sight of me. Vismaranam nasti. Without knowing the Lord, it is a question of Narayana, Namasmarana, remembering the name of Narayana. But here it is Narayanasya Tattvajnana, knowing the truth of Bhagavan as yourself. Here there is no ignorance of Bhagavan at all. The knowledge Narayana Aham, I am Narayana, is not subject to Vismarana, forgetfulness. Ignorance cannot come back. Even if a person goes into a coma, he does not He does not really create ignorance. The mind may not function and may be incapable of responding to the external world. But the ignorance gone is gone. It can never come back. Therefore, Bhagavan says, Prayanakalepi mam viduhu. Even at the time of death, they know me. This is the meaning of the word api in this statement. At the time of death, even though there is generally Vismarana for most people, including the Upasakas, the Jnanis do not have this Vismarana. When they are alive and well in the body and mind, with strong commitment, they put forth adequate and proper effort to know Bhagavan. mam viduhu. How do they know? They know that all that is here is Bhagavan. Idam sarvam aham asmi iti viduhu. Sati bhuta ati devam sa ati gyagyam mam viduhu. They also know that Bhagavan Ishvara, who is in the form of all this, is not separate from themselves. Sa adibhuta ati devam. Sa adibhuta adi devam. Sa adi agyam mam atmatvena viduhu. And they know this even at the time of death, when generally there is vismriti. It is because there is no smriti apeksha, dependence on memory for this knowledge, unlike the knowledge of other things in this world. Self-knowledge is not to be remembered. Only self-ignorance has to go. This is because the self is always evident. Therefore, the Lord says, these people who are yukta chetasaha and do not have any inhibiting factor that prevents the knowledge, know me even at the time of death. Even at the time of death, their knowledge stands firm. Finally, what the Lord says with reference to the final moment also means this. Even those who only know me at the time of death, who gain this knowledge then, or those who have been living with this knowledge and are not swayed from it right up to the time of death, because it is so clear, they know prayana kaleyapi mam te viduhu yukta chetasaha. Those minds are united to me, know me, not just remember me, even at the time of death. There is no return for them. They are Brahman. When I am everything and everywhere, who is to return and from where? I can go to some place and return if I am not there already. If I am only here, then I can go to heaven and come back. But heaven also is me, the heavenly bodies are me, the devatas are me, the angels are me, the celestials are me. The local world is me, the sun, the moon and the stars, the physical body, mind and senses are all me because I am Brahman. Tell me now, who is to go and where? Thus, those who know these five, that is Adhyatma, Pratyagatma, their innermost self, and the body, mind, sense complex, Karma in its entirety, Adibhuta, Adideva and Adhyatma, Adiyajna as Brahman, for them their knowledge of the identity between themselves and Ishvara stands firm and unaffected even at the time of death. They were free while living, they are free even after this body has fallen.
So nicely, Bhagavan Swamiji has himself has summarized the whole 7th chapter, what all he has explained. Yeah.
Thus ends chapter 7, in which the Tatpada Vachya, the actual meaning of the word Tat, which is the Swarupa of Ishvara, and the Tatpada Lakshya, the implied meaning of the word Tat, which is Brahman, was explained. We have already seen in the first Shatka that the Tvam-pada Lakshya, the implied meaning of the word Tvam, is also...
meaning first 6 chapters we have seen the Tvam-pada, that is Pratyagatma Swarupa. In the 7th chapter he has explained the same is the Tatpada Vachya, Tatpada Lakshya also. That he has explained now. Yeah.
This is how the Vakya Tat Tvam Asi is unfolded. What
Swamiji does is, he keeps on summarizing and putting together. 6 chapters he explained Tvam-pada Vachya completely what is our reality, and the 7th chapter he has explained Ishvara and said that is not different from you. So finally what it is Tattvamasi almost is explained now. The Tat that is in the 7th chapter, the Tvam that has been explained in the 6th chapter, first 6 chapters are all one and the same. Tat, Tvam, Asi equal. So there is only one being, that is Pratyagatma equal to Paramatma, Brahmatma, whatever you call it. He has already said. Now he will again go into that on the basis of the, as if Arjuna is asking the questions in terms of what is Adibhuta, what is Adideva, what is Adhyatma, what is Yajna, etc., etc. He will ask questions, Bhagavan will explain. So that whatever in the normal parlance people talk in terms of elements, Devam and individual and all that are explained again, and finally they say that okay, if people want to be in one with Bhagavan, when they die, they want to remember Bhagavan and go to Brahmaloka. All those what you call ideas are also there in terms of bhaktas and in terms of general understanding. That also will be explained. And how is it? And in contrast to that, this understanding also is the same. What I have discussed in the 7th chapter is the same. That also will come back and bridge it together. That's all you will do in the next 10-15 slokas. Yeah.
तत्सत् इति श्रीमद् भगवद गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्यायां योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्णार्जुन संवादे ज्ञान विज्ञान योगो नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः. Om Brahman is the only reality. Thus ends the 7th chapter called Jnana Vijnana Yoga, having the topic of indirect and immediate knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, which is in the form of a dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna, which is the essence of the Upanishads, whose subject matter is both the knowledge of Brahman and Yoga. We have to see what this Tat Sat means. Later, Bhagavan himself is going to say, Om Tat Sat Iti Viddeshaha. Gita 17th chapter 23rd verse. Here, in this statement, all the three words are in Samanadikaranya.
Samanadikaranya meaning in opposition. That he has explained. Opposition means on the same level. Yeah.
That is, they are in opposition. It means what is Om? That Tat is Sat. Om is the name for Parameshwara. Therefore, it is an invocation consisting of a single syllable. Thus, it is a Bijakshara. Bijaksharas are actually words consisting of a single syllable. In a mantra, Om is considered to be the Bijakshara of all Bijaksharas. Bijaksharanam Bijaksharam Om. That is, from it originates all other Bijaksharas. This is because Om is used to invoke Parameshwara, who is everything, that is, all that was in the past, that is in the present, that will be in the future. Bhutam Bhavat Bhavishyat Sarvam Omkara Eva Yat Cha Kalatitam Tadapi Omkara Eva. Then there are other bijas that invoke various aspects of Parameshwara. For example, the Bijakshara Hrim invokes the Shakti of Ishvara. Since the Shakti has the power to create or the power to destroy, either of them can be invoked by adding the appropriate Bijakshara. If you want to invoke Lakshmi, you add Srim, and the mantra now would be Om Hrim Srim. Om stands for Parameshwara, Hrim stands for Shakti of Parameshwara, and Srim stands for Lakshmi. Similarly, Gam stands for Ganesha. Thus, we have a variety of these Bijaksharas, and through these we invoke an aspect of Ishvara. Om is the source of all Bijaksharas. It invokes Parameshwara, which is why it is added before every Nama invoking Ishvara.
Bija means seed. Bija means seed. Bija.
Akshara. Omkara thus is the Abhidhana, the name for the Abhideya, the named Brahman. Therefore, Om Tat Sat means Brahman alone is Sat. Om is that Brahman which is Jagat Karana, and Tat alone, and Tat that alone is Sat, Satya, the truth of everything. Lot of words have been said, and all said and done, that Brahman alone is the Satya Vastu, the truth of everything. Lot of things may or may not have been said properly. They may or may not be understood properly. Finally, what is to be understood is Om Tat Sat. Thus, it marks the conclusion. This chapter is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. That is, it has the topic of Jnana and Vijnana. The word Jnana indicates that this chapter has the knowledge of Parameshwara. The knowledge of what the Tatpada stands for is the predominant topic of this chapter. The word Vijnana indicates that the knowledge is so complete that even at the time of death, there is no possibility of Vismarana. Thus ends the 7th chapter.
Satyam, there is, I think I have told before also, Satyam means Satcha Tyacha Bhavati. That is, moving and non-moving, living and non-living. After all, the whole world is nothing but living plus non-living. So, Satcha Tyacha Bhavati Satyam. So, that is how it is. Yeah.
Satya yatta bhavati.
Satcha Tyat means non-moving. Satcha Tyacha. Cha means and. Both moving and non-moving, living and non-living. All together is Satyam. There is only one being. That is how it is. Because that is, we know, which we explained in the dream, even the mountain is you as well as the human being also is you. Because it's all one light of consciousness. In waking, we look like, how can a table can be me? How can a table can be me? That sort of question will come. But immediately, if you remember, the dream, the table also is me, mountain also is me, the human being is also me, the neighbor also is me. So that conscious being alone is the truth. And the same way in the waking also, only that in waking, this, what do you call it, Chit Chata Veda is meant for Vyavahara, purpose, so that the table listens to you, that doesn't do things on its own. So for that, it has been kept that way. But it doesn't mean that it is different from the Surupa of Ishvara. So it's also Ishvara, it's also Ishvara. That is how you have to understand. That is why the dream example is given. Yeah. So now the next book you have now?
Yes, yes. Swamiji, can you spell that Satya?
Satcha. Satcha. Tyat. T-Y-A-T. Satcha. Tyacha. Satyam. The etymology of the word Satyam. Somewhere in the Upanishad itself it comes, Satcha Tyacha Bhavati. Like that it will come. I don't know whether it is Mandukya or Taittiriya, it will come. Now here, Swamiji has summarized the whole, all the 6 chapters he has summarized.
It will come in Upanishad. Satya Bhavate, like that. Surya Namaskaram.
Which Upanishad?
Surya Namaskaram.
Surya Namaskaram. Okay. But it is some from Upanishad only. I will tell you what is the Upanishad reference. Yeah. I think it is in Mandukya Upanishad. Satcha Tyacha Bhavati or Taittiriya Shikshavali. Either of this we will have.
Taittiriya Shikshavali it will come.
Yeah.
Raghu Vaivaruni, that one it will come.
Satyam Abhavat it will come. Yeah, correct. That is, Bhagavan explains, So Kamayata Bahusyam Prajayeti Satapos Tapyata Satapas Tapva Satyat Chacha Bhavati Satyam Abhavat. So it will come in the Shikshavali where Shikshavali or in the Brahman, the Anandavalli, after explaining Ananda, how creation comes about. So Kamayata, like that it starts. There it will come.
Swamiji, I think it is Bhriguvalli.
Maybe either way, just check it up. I'm not.
Without knowing
Where So Kamayata comes? In the Anandavalli or Bhriguvalli? I think Anandavalli. Just check it up. Anyway, you will see that later. Yeah, you can check it up for yourself.
Prashant, will you read now?
Okay.
Summary of chapter 1 to 7.
Summary of chapters 1 to 7. Inquiry into Twampada. Chapters 1 to 6. Once again. The whole subject matter of Vedanta is covered by the statement Tat Tvam Asi. Tvam refers to the Jiva, the individual, and Tat denotes Ishvara, the Lord. And there is an equation between them which is revealed by Asi. An equation does not reveal something. An equation does not reveal something that is going to happen later. It reveals a fact that exists now. The Shastra does not say Tattvam Bhavishyasi, you will become that. It says Tattvam Asi, you are that. It is an important fact to know. Once I say Tvam Asi, you are, an expectation is created as to what am I. The speaker has something to convey, something is expected. This Akanksha expectation,
expectation.
expectation created by the statement is fulfilled by the word tat. Since the word tat is a pronoun, it refers to something already explained in the Shastra. Tatpada was presented as Satvastu, the existent reality which is the cause of creation. Since Tatpada stands for Ishvara, in order to understand the Tattvam Asi equation, the Tvampada has to be understood properly. In an equation, there are two things that are equated. The necessity for an equation is that one side of the equation seems to be different from the other. If one is totally different from the other, there is no equation. Only if they are the same but not recognized can there be an equation. If a chair is told, you are wood, that of which the whole wooden world is made, the chair has to understand this statement. Naturally, it has to die to the notion that it is just a chair. It has to acknowledge that it is wood in the form of chair and it can be in the form of a table too. The chair has to recognize this and so it is given an equation. When there is a possibility of an equation, it means there is an already existent fact. Here too, this equation states an existent fact. The Jiva happens to be Ishvara. To recognize this, what the Tvampada implies must be understood and the nature of Ishvara must also be understood. Only then can the equation be understood. In the process of understanding the nature of Tvampada and the nature of the Tattvada, the meaning of the equation is discovered. As a result of this inquiry, the discovery I am that takes place. In the first 6 chapters of the Gita, the subject matter is predominantly Atma, the Jiva. Arjuna was confused. And one who is subject to confusion is a Jiva, an individual, which is the meaning of the word Tvam. The first part of the Gita is inquiry into the Tvampada. Chapter 1. In the first chapter, it was shown that Arjuna was confused. It means that a Jiva is subject to confusion. Arjuna was not an ordinary Jiva. Born a prince with the blessings of Indra, Arjuna was a man of great character and valor. In his day, he was invincible. Bhishma waited for Arjuna to fight, and Drona, his teacher, was anxious to see him fight. Arjuna, who was also highly accomplished in music and dance, found himself in a state of depression. What does it mean? An individual Jiva, no matter what his or her accomplishments may be, is subject to sorrow. This was presented in the very first chapter. It looks like when serial starts, they will recollect. Chapter 2. Next was Arjuna's Purushartha Nischaya, ascertainment of what is to be pursued in life. He found himself in a no-win situation, exactly the situation where one can discover what one really wants. If he is victorious, he loses those that are dear to him. If he does not gain victory, yet he is a loser. In this unenviable situation is born his desire to solve the problem of sorrow in a way that requires no further solution. Arjuna addresses the human problem. He did not address his topical problem that saw a fundamental problem of the human heart that needs to be addressed. To do so, in the situation he was in, he needed support. And Krishna was the greatest support possible. Whenever you address a fundamental problem, you cannot do it alone. You do require help. The subject matter here being what it is, you require not just support but a teacher. Arjuna finds in Krishna a teacher. The discovery of the human problem is the subject matter of Tvampada, the meaning of you. And seeking a solution is done by Jiva, the Tvampada Artha, as is finding a teacher and asking for this knowledge. Arjuna discovered the teacher is Krishna and surrendering to him, asked him to teach. Shishyateham sadimam tvam prapannam.
Palm Prapanna. Yeah.
Tvam prapannam. Okay, it's not going to the footnote. Can somebody read that footnote?
Yeah, footnote is Gita 2.7. Oh, it doesn't matter, we have done it.
Krishna accepts Arjuna as a student and teaches him immediately as though he was waiting for such a situation. He starts with the statement Asocyan Anvasoshashvam.
Asocyan Anvasochastvam. Sochastvam means Asocyan, Sochastvam. So need to ponder over, basically. Sochyan means not necessarily grief, can be pondering, too much of concern. So there is no need for concern. That is the first sloka, that is how Gita Upadesha starts. Asocyan Anvasochastvam Prajnam Bhadamscha Bhasase Gatasun Agatasun Nanu Sochandi Panditaha. That is the first Upadesha verse. He tells, Bhagavan tells that you talk as if you are a very Pandita, great Pandita, but you are grieving over something which is not to be grieved and doesn't deserve grief. So that is how we starts the Upadesha. Yeah.
And then he talks about Atma and how it is not subject to death at all. He says
that is what again the 220 he has referred to is that Nasato vidyate bhavaha na abhavaha vidyate sataha ubhayorapi drishtantaha tu anayoho tattvadarshinihi. So what is not subject to death, what is never subject to death, what is not is never alive. So both the things he has mentioned. Yeah.
He says your conclusion about Atma is not true. It is not born, nor does it ever die. It was never non-existent, nor will it ever not be there. It is unborn, eternal and so on. Na jayate mriyate va kadachite nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha ajaha nityaha and so on.
Ajo nitya sashvatoyam puranaha. That's what is ajo. The Atma is explaining as Ajaha, it's never born and never gone. Ajo Nityam Saswatoyam Puranaha. Puranaha meaning ancient but always new. Every day, every time you look at it, it's fresh. So Ajo Nitya Saswatoyam Puranaha Nayam Hanti Na Hanyate. Sorry, it is neither subject to death or any hurt, nor it hurts anybody. So both the things he is mentioning that. Yeah.
Krishna talks about Atma in entirety right in the second chapter. It is the analysis of the Tvapada. This is the whole style of teaching. The exposition of Tatpada comes and goes, but the predominant topic in the second chapter is the analysis of Tvapada. Then Krishna gives Arjuna different arguments as to why he must fight and how karma is not opposed to knowledge if it is backed by proper attitude. Swamiji, the shortened version is...
See these slokas once again. This 211, 220 and 27. All the three we will see. Okay. Two seven, which he has mentioned in the previous page. Yeah, 2:7. Yeah, Shishya, that is one. Yeah, 2:7 he has mentioned. So there he says, Karpanya dosha dosopahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha. Sammuda chetaha meaning that confused person. So, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhavaha prichami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yash shreyaha syat nishchitam bruhi tanme sishyasteham sadimam tvam prapannam, where Arjuna declares himself to be the Shishya. I am confused. Please, what is Shreyas for me? Clearly say. What is clearly Shreyas for me? That's what he surrenders himself to Bhagavan. Tvam prapannam. Prapannam meaning basically prapatti. In the sense, I surrender. Please accept me as your Shishya and explain to me. That is how his request in 2.7 starts. Then 2.11, Bhagavan starts the Upadesa. Upadesa is what? Asocya, which I told. Asocya nanvasocastvam prajnam vadamscha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanu sochanti panditaha. So gatasun agatasun can be, a few meanings can be there. The dying is mourning the dead. That is one way of putting it. The other thing is, neither you are going nor anyone else is going. Why are you worried? So both ways you can look at it positively as well as negatively. Nobody goes, nobody comes. Or the going grieves over the gone. That also doesn't make a difference. You are in the queue anyway. So that is why he says, it is no need for any grief. It doesn't deserve any grief. Nanu sochanti panditaha. But people who really know the whole thing will not grieve over. But you talk as if you know everything. Prajnam vadamscha bhashase. He tells Arjuna. You talk as if you know everything, but you don't seem to know the minimum thing. That gatasun agatasun nanu sochanti panditaha. That is how he starts the bank. Really, he is waking up the Shishya. Challenges him. How come you talk as if you know everything, but you don't know anything? That is how he starts. It's a style of teaching in a big bang manner. Then 220 is he has quoted, okay. Yetu dharmyam amrutam idam yuktam upasate matparama bhaktaste itiva me priyaha. That is how you have to.
Swami, the na jayate 220, like 2.
Oh, I think it's.
Na jayate mriyate.
Both is correction. Right. Sorry.
Radachinayam Bhutva Bhakta.
I selected it wrongly. I think I told correctly.
Na jayate mriyate. First you said.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयाः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. That is what it is. Because neither born nor gone. न जायते न म्रियते कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयाः. So what is there? Bhuyaha means Shashwatam doesn't go anywhere. Ajo nityah shashwatoyam puranaha. In the sense, the Atma is Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashwataha, I am Puranaha, Na Hanyate, Hanyamane Sarire, which we have explained. So all these three things, three important slokas in the Upadesa, he has quoted to explain the second chapter. Now go to the third chapter. Yeah.
I will read the third chapter, chapter 3. The third chapter, Arjuna wanted to know whether to pursue self-knowledge. Are you able to listen?
Yes. Yeah.
We can hear.
Or not? In response to Arjuna's question at the end of the second chapter, Krishna had described a wise man. Sorry, 1 second. Krishna has described a wise man as one who is happy with himself without requiring any addition or subtraction. Arjuna's thinking now is that he should pursue this wisdom, since there was a lifestyle called sannyasa meant exclusively for this purpose. Arjuna considered that as a possibility for himself.
Yeah, before that, wait, Kumar, 1 minute. See, before that we stopped at the sloka and then we See, Krishna talks about Atma in entirety right in the second chapter. It is analysis of Tatpada, that is fine. This is the whole style of teaching. The exposition of Tatpada comes and goes, but okay. Then Krishna gives Arjuna different arguments as to why he must fight and how karma is not opposed to this knowledge if it is backed by proper attitude. That also he tells in the second chapter. To that only Arjuna now says, if sannyasa is a lifestyle to know exclusively for this pursuit, why should I fight? That's why, that is a question he raises in the third chapter. Yeah, read.
Since there was a lifestyle called sannyasa, meant exclusively for this pursuit, Arjuna considered that as a possibility for himself. Yet Krishna was encouraging him to fight this battle. So he asked Krishna, which was better, a life of karma or a life of renunciation in pursuit of self-knowledge? You seem to praise both of them. So please teach me again clearly. They must have different results because one seems to be a life of activity and the other a life of non-activity. Both cannot have the same result. Action will produce a result which will necessarily bind me. That means I will continue to samsara. I will continue in samsara. But sannyasa is supposed to deliver me from samsara. How can both be the same? So Arjuna wanted to know in unequivocal terms, what the means of moksha is, a life of karma yoga or a life of sannyasa, and for whom this life of karma yoga and sannyasa is, for Ishvara or for the jiva Tvapada Atta. There is also a lot said about in the third chapter, but it was all meant for the jiva with reference to karma yoga. That is the predominant topic. Later in the fourth chapter, he talked about knowledge again. Having pointed out that it is not karma that is a binding factor, but a lack of attitude and knowledge, he then talked about real sannyasa. Chapter 4. Sannyasa as a lifestyle is one thing, but total renunciation, sarva karma sannyasa by knowledge is quite another. In the fourth chapter, Krishna unfolded this total renunciation of action. This is only possible through knowledge. And for whom is this? It is for the jiva. The Lord says, I am always performing actions and still I do not perform any action. The system of the four varnas was created by me. Understand me to be the creator of that system, and yet as someone who is not a doer at all. Chaturvarnyam maya shrutam.
Maya system.
Yeah. Chaturvarnyam maya system gunakarma vibhagasaha. Tasya kartaram api maam vidhi akartaram avayavam.
Tasya kartaram api maam vidhi akartaram avyayam. Even though the varnashram and all has been created by me, I am not touched by any of them. Maam vidhi akartaram avyayam. Yeah. Then again he quotes before slokas from the two slokas from the fourth chapter. Want to see the slokas just to quickly? 4.
Chapter 3.
4.13.
4.13.
Chaturvanyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasaha tasya kartaram abhimam buddhi akartaram abhyayam. That he has fully quoted anyway. Then 4. We read it further. Then we will see the other.
Maam vidhi akartaram abhyayam. Even though he is very active, the Lord is relaxed from karma. Released from karma because of his knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is required not for Ishvara but for Jiva. The one who is able to see actionlessness, which is the nature of Atma in all activity, and the one who sees action in inactivity, he alone sees. He is the most knowledgeable among men. He is a successful one who has accomplished all that has to be accomplished. Karmani akarma yaha pasyet akarmani. च कर्मा यः सा बुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु सा युक्त कृष्ण कर्मकर्त
कर्मणि अकर्मयः पश्चेत् अकर्मणि च कर्मयः. In the sense, कर्मणि अकर्मयः पश्चेत्, in action, actionlessness. अकर्मणि च कर्मयः, in inaction you see action. स बुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृष्ण कर्मकृत. He has explained very detailed. Here in brief he is explaining already. Just read that. Yeah.
If you think you are a karta, you perform action, even if it is refusal to act. It is the doership that is a kingpin of all actions. Therefore, the one who is able to see the absence of doership in the midst of all activities is a real sannyasi.
Yeah,
Chapter 5.
Karmani akarmaya paschet. While doing karma, if you have the right attitude, right understanding that you are the awareful being, you are doing so karma with all your body, mind, sense complex. If that understanding is very clear, karmani akarmaya paschet. You don't have to claim any ownership. You do not have to look at yourself as a doer or as an enjoyer. You do what is to be done, what we have been generally discussing. So, karmani akarmaya paschet is the understanding that I am not the doer because I am the awareful being, I am the Atma. That understanding, if that is there like a Shruti in our life, then whatever you do, you are not an actor, you are not a karta. That is what he says, karmani akarmaya paschet. He says that is how I am. In the same way he can also be. And akarmanischa karmayaha. Akarmanischa karmayaha meaning, even if you are not doing anything, and if you are very conscious of the fact, I am sitting idle, then you are a doer. You are an idle doer, that's all the difference. So, that just because not doing anything, you don't become a karta. It is because of your lack of understanding that I am the awareful being and your ownership with the body, mind, sense complex, whether you do or you don't do, if that ownership is towards the body, mind, sense complex, then you are a doer always, whether you do or you don't do. The ownership or the reality is Atma, then whether you are doing or not doing, you are your actionlessness, you are actionless. That is what he is explaining, that understanding and the attitude born of understanding is the most important thing in this Tvampadartha. That is what the crux of the whole thing is. Karmani akarmaya paschet, akarmani cha karmayaha, sa buddhiman manushyesu, sa yuktaha krishna karmakata. Buddhiman in this sense is one who understands what is the reality. Sa yuktaha krishna karmakrita. Krishna karmakrita meaning he is done whatever is to be done in life. Because whatever is to be done in life is this understanding. Once that is done, whatever you do, is well done. Krishna karmakrita means well done. Everything you do in life is well done because your understanding is clear. Very crucial sloka of the fourth chapter. Yeah.
Chapter 5. After talking about renunciation of action through knowledge,
We'll stop here.
Jnana Karma Sannyasa, he talked about sannyasa again. He used to be known as always as sannyasi, who was neither aversion, not longing. Longing nyaye sa nitya sannyasi. Nyaye saha nitya sannyasi. Is it okay?
No.
Yona dveshti na kamchati. Okay.
No,
Yona dveshti na kamchati.
Nyeyaha sa nitya sannyasi. Yona dveshti na kamchati. Nyeyaha means one who knows things clearly. He is a nitya sannyasi. He does not have any dvesha or raga. Na dveshti na kamchati. He is to be known as always a sannyasi. Nitya sannyasi means always a sannyasi who has neither aversion nor longing. That's what is explained. That is in the 5.3. We will look at that 5.3. Let's not rush through. Yes. Nyeyaha sa nitya sannyasi yona dveshti na kamshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. That is a palasruti he says. That is a person who is na dveshti na kamshati, he is a karma yogi. One takes the support of prayer, Ishvara anugrahena, does what is to be done and avoids not to be done. So first raga dvesha vasat moksha and then samsara bandhanat moksha. So karma yogi is to be known as nitya sannyasi. Nyayaha sa nitya sannyasi, even if he remains in the midst of karma. Nirdvandvaha, one who is not subject to effect, vasam of opposites. That is, he is not bound by either plus or minus. Opposites do not really affect him because he is a karma yogi. He doesn't have any raga, dvesha, and he does what is to be done. So all those things is explained. One who is not subject to effect, vasam of opposites. He sukham vadat anayasena pramuchyate. He will not be bound by the results of action. There can be, that is how he has explained at that time. Okay.
Stop here, Swamiji.
Yeah, we can stop here.
There's lots of
Yes.
chapter 5 not very good. Many
We'll see. Chapter 5, we'll see. Chapters then tomorrow. Yeah.
Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnama